Alright guys, album review time. I haven't done one of these in a while, but this album is worth one. So recently Destroy Lonely dropped his long-awaited album Love Lasts Forever, executive produced by everyone's favorite producer, Lil 88. And before I even say anything, I have to say this album was good, maybe not insanely good, but it was good. And it definitely had a lot of great songs that I believe his fans will really enjoy. However, I'm going to be viewing this album from a bit more of a critic's POV, if that makes sense. And there are definitely some things that I think Lone really messed up on that would have made this album so much better. And lastly, I'll go over the fan reactions to this project on the internet. So let's get into it. Alright, so the first thing I think that Lone really messed up on was the rollout, the precursor to the actual album. And I think Hyperpop Daily said something that really made a lot of sense. He said, to be honest, no matter what Lone dropped, I don't think the general population would gravitate towards it. For real. Too much negativity around his name and image. His main producer is more concerned with tweeting than mixing. Plus, it's bad when even r/Playboy Carti isn't on your side. So what he's referring to here are the allegations that blew up against Lone, plus Lil 88, plus Lonely lying multiple times about the drop, and the underwhelming singles/leaks that have been popping up from Lone. And if you're not too versed on Destroy Lonely or how his rollout went, probably you're thinking to yourself, damn, that's a lot of negative shit. And yeah, it is. So first off, he didn't exactly have a great rollout. However, despite all of that, he's still pretty big. He's still Opium. He's still signed to Carti. So there was still a lot of hype for this album. And when it finally dropped on August 30th of 2024, everyone, let's be real, gonna listen to it. So before I get into the fan reactions, I'm gonna give my little take on this album and I'll give you a little score at the end. So the first thing I didn't like about this album was the beginning. I feel like this album had a lot of really hard songs on it, where he's really rapping and that are pretty catchy. And I feel like if he started off the album with those songs, and I'll go over which songs I think would have been better, he would have had a much stronger start. I feel like the start was very weak. And whenever you start off an album with just some tracks that are all right, it immediately sets the tone for is this gonna be some mid? All right, so the album starts off with a song called Forever. I think it's cool. I guess stylistically he was trying to ease us into it, but I feel like for an album like this that was really just hip hop, where Lone's just rapping, it wasn't really necessary. He then went with this song called Love Hurts featuring Lil Uzi, which was cool, but it wasn't anything crazy. The first song on this album I really liked was a song called Crystal Clear. All right, I just really liked this flow. The production was cool. That was really it. Then, I'm not gonna lie, the next couple were kind of sleepers to me. I like Pimp Talk, I like Cadillac, Syrup Sippin' was cool, Lock-In was nice as well, Doubt It. Now, this was kind of it wasn't the lead single, but it was the single that he immediately started pushing. It was the one he published a music video for. It was the one he previewed through Michi. It was one of the songs that leaked as well. And I'm not gonna lie, it's definitely top 2, top 3 at least in terms of best singles on the project. And in 18 hours, the song has 300K on YouTube for the music video. So, it's pretty good. I'm just trying to say that this is the single they're really pushing. Then they have another song called Wish You Well, which is also cool, but they have this song called Ship Her Off, which honestly was my favorite of this entire album. I just really liked it. That was hard. I feel like if he started with Sip Her Off, Doubt It, and one of the bonus songs, No Worries, it would have been a really strong start. You know what I mean? Just solid songs that no one can really say shit about. And the songs you add into the album, because you gotta understand this album is 21 songs long, that add a little more variety and I guess you could say more experimental or just more out there flows that wouldn't really become hits on an album. You could scatter around later in the album, but it was his choice. Then there were some more songs. As I said, I like No Worries a lot. Thrill with Ken Carson. I don't know why this keeps happening, but I'm not gonna lie, Ken Carson washed him. Alright, so those are kind of my thoughts on just the tracks themselves. So the album as a whole just has 808 Mafia written all over it, and that's no coincidence. It was executive produced by Lil 88, who is, Ken Carson's good friend for many years. Also nephew of TM88, who's part of 808 Mafia, and he has his own thing, Crash Dummy. And I would say that this production isn't really doing anything new. It's actually a little dated. I guess the drums are probably just newer in my opinion. It's very Atlanta. That makes sense. I would say that, it's cool and I liked a lot of the songs, and honestly, I like this project way more than If Looks Could Kill. However, I feel like Opium's fan base, you can say it's corny or whatever, I just feel like Cardi fans, although they do, you know, kind of just glaze everything with not much thought, I think they do look for something new. I think they do look for, you know, something kind of pushing the boundaries, even if it's just a little bit. And I don't really think Lone did that in the project, but he did deliver music-wise, if that makes sense. To me, this would be a project that, you know, if you're on some like future shit where you're like, it, let me just drop 3 mixtapes or 4 in a year or something, you know, maybe even 2 or 3, you would put this as like your second or third one. But I wouldn't make this the only album I drop after like 1.5 years or what, you know what I mean? It just not really doesn't make that much sense to me. But at the end of the day, their vision and everything. Other than that, I would say the ratio of like songs that make the playlist versus not is a bit low. You know, there are a lot of songs on here, just like If Looks Could Kill, that I will never return to again. Well, probably never. Yeah, I'll just never return to. Maybe I change my mind later, but I kind of already got the songs that I like. The other thing is it's a 21 song album, and I feel like it's so hard to put together a really good 21 song album. You know what I mean? It's not easy. If you're putting out a 21 song album, it's gonna be filled with fluff no matter what, if you're at Lone's skill level for the past like 2 years. Ironically, I think that in 2020, if he did a 21 song album, it would be better than what he's doing now. I just think because the production, as I said, isn't anything crazy, and this isn't a diss towards Lil 88, he did great, to be honest. Because the production isn't crazy, I just think that it, you know, makes it a little stale halfway through. You know, you don't really want to listen all the way. Yeah, so whenever you have 21 song albums, you know, the real reason artists do this, or why they're incentivized to do this, why you see like the Amigos, Trippie Redd, you know, Lone, a bunch of other artists do this, is because, you know, sales. They want to sell more. And that just creates bloated albums. You know what I mean? I don't think this is... He could have definitely left some songs out. And what's interesting is this was a complaint a lot of people had of his last album. So I would say interesting he didn't take that feedback. Anyways, another I wouldn't really call this a big issue, but it definitely hurts him, is he didn't have a single that just went crazy or something that, you know, stood out from this project. Maybe, you know, you could say Doubt It, you know, whatever else you like in it, but he just didn't have that single. You know what I mean? Compared to like Ken Carson, where he has like, you know what? I'm not even gonna compare it like that. I'm just saying, you know, his last album, even though I think it was his worst album, had If Looks Could Kill. This album, nothing really. Not that I was looking for something, but it does help, you know? So yeah, that's kind of the review. As far as visuals go, he's kind of got like this rugged look, if that makes sense. And he's just rapping about what he normally raps about. We're being real. So I would give this album like a 6.5, 7 out of 10. Like nothing crazy. I don't think it's trash. I don't think it's really good. I just think it's pretty good, you know? But it's not like some mid either. There is some mid in the project though. Sorry, that was probably a bit confusing. So the TLDR short summary is there were some good tracks on the project, but it just didn't hit. Anyways, let's go through the fan reactions, and let's start with Reddit and then I'll move to Twitter. Okay, so on Hip Hop Heads, they posted, fresh album, Destroy Lonely, Love Lasts Forever. This man said Don Toliver sounds gay and proceeds to drop an album where he's trying to sound like Don Toliver. Someone said insults are often indicators of envy. Lone sounds like he recorded the album in a submarine. This was a critique a lot of people had for the lead single, Love For Ya. They were like, yo, the mixing is horrible. Another person said, bro, this album really cemented that Ken surpassed Lone in my opinion. He literally washed Lone in his own song. I still think Lone has way more potential, but he keeps putting out these 25 plus song albums. I think this album was 21 songs, bro, actually, that are half filler. Ken has the ability to put together concise and more sonically better albums than Lone. I used to like Lone more than Ken, but he just can't put together an album for the life of him, man. I totally agree. AI generated ass album. Most boring production ever. No one is listening to him for what he says, so when the beats are just trash like they are for 90% of his album, what's the point of listening? Okay, I won't say they're trash. As I said, they're just basic. It's nothing new. But as I said, this demographic is not like that. Lil 88 just isn't very creative. These long ass albums aren't doing him any favors. Saved 4 songs, terrible album in my opinion. Yeah, I saved around like 5. So yeah, it's not exactly the best reaction. I would say this is a very fair reaction. You know, people aren't just hating to hate. I feel like people deep down they like him, even though there was a sort of bad perception on him. And you know, the way Reddit works, the most agreed with thing or most popular gets floated to the top. Anyways, let's move to Twitter. Let's just say a little more chaotic space. So anyways, let's move into the fan reactions because they were pretty mixed. So immediately after Kirko posted it, someone said, no one can convince me that this was not a good album. They just don't get it. They really don't. These are both like big Cardi fans. I'm gonna just say this Lone album is better than If Looks Could Kill. I think everyone agrees with that. I present to you the song of the year. I don't think this is the song of the year. I told y'all this would be his best album. This wasn't his best album, but it was definitely somewhat of a return of form. Someone else said, we really need to give Lil 88 his flowers. All right, cool. However, there was also hate. Every song is literally the same. This album is cheeks, dog. Notice how literally nobody agrees with you? Guess what? It got almost 500 likes, so there are definitely some people in there who agreed. Lone also said he's dropping new songs next week, and he's been tweeting and interacting like crazy. So here's the thing. I think, if you're dropping new songs next week, and I understand the sales point, but maybe sacrifice a little bit for a better perception of your album, or just for your album to be a better experience. If you're gonna drop a bunch of songs next week, why didn't he cut this down to like 12 songs or 15? If he had done that, it would have been able to cut out a lot of the fluff, and it would have made the listening experience way better. You know what I mean? I feel like fans are lazy. Most people do not listen through a 21 song album. You know what I mean? They just aren't. They're just gonna skim through, see whatever. But if you have a shorter album, this makes things way better. There's also this one line about the Claremont twins. He's dating one of them, and he said, "My bitch a little squirter, her sister a little spitter." So I don't know if he's trying to be like cool. You know how Future has the one song, Real Sisters? Destroy Lonely actually did a remix to that, being like, yo, I'm with both sisters. I'm not gonna lie, that's kind of weird, but yeah, I don't know, just thought it was worth saying. Anyways, another thing people were talking about was the Ken Carson feature, and I'm not gonna lie, he did watch him, bro. Destroy Lonely wasn't horrible, but Ken's was just better. They posted like this LeBron compilation, which is not funny. Another thing is Kai Cenat was like totally quiet the whole album. By the way, he reacted to this. And then when Ken Carson's part came on, he just started going crazy. So they were all like hating on him. This guy is actually a cornball. He didn't say shit until track 18 and then starts bouncing on a mid-ass hook. Pretty obvious he's only reacting to trending music for attention. Honestly, here's the thing about Kai Cenat reacting to this stuff, and I know this is a Lone album, and I'll go back to it. Sorry, Lone album video, and I'll go back to that, but let me just give you my 2 cents. That's kind of his job. He's the guy who listens, he's just gonna be into whatever's like cool, trending, and going mainstream, you know what I mean? And I think that hurts certain fans because they think they're like, oh wow, this is so cool. Like, but bro, Destroy Lonely, Ken Carson, they're huge. So yeah. And yeah, he definitely is not actually into the music, and they definitely hate him. This guy is so corny, it's not even funny. Lone was also seen with Ian Connor. If you guys remember, when Lone's girl accused him of putting his hands on her, one of the things she said was, yo, you knew Don Toliver was my favorite rapper, so you would talk shit about him after being in the studio with him, and you knew how much I loved his music, and blah, blah, blah. And she showed that he was like on him. But in the the CD version of Love Lasts Forever, there's an unreleased song with Don Toliver called Bangs. So seems like they patched that up. Anyways, honestly, I like this album. It was cool. There are definitely some songs on there that I'm gonna be listening to, or they're gonna be in the rotation for a little bit. So let me know what you think. I definitely think this was better. I think he could have made it better, but like even better, but it is what it is. Just give me in your comments, if you're still here, give me an honest rating. Was I too harsh? Was this like a really good album? Or was I too nice? This was trash. My opinion, I really just think it's very like, it's cool. But it's not horrible, not great. So I gave it a 6.5, 7. Like, I don't know. That range, not Fantano. Anyways, thanks for watching. Have a nice day, and bye. See you tomorrow.